He may not handle it all the time with the money, but is he providing spiritually? Is he providing trust? Is he providing protection? Is he providing knowledge and wisdom and guidance? Is he providing a shoulder for you to cry on? Is he providing a space for open communication? Is he providing a space for you to be exactly who you are? Sometimes he can provide the things that money could never purchase.
But don't you see how women also can and should provide these things? Like everything he listed are just qualities of being a good partner. However, people decide to divvy up these qualities between the genders so you only have half of a healthy relationship. When both people should be doing all those things, there's really not a biological constraint on that. And even when people say protection, which protection is different, it's more about who's bigger and stronger, which just happens to be the man. But if a woman is in a position where she can protect her man, she should absolutely do that, right? It's just so crazy to me because people are married to these words, provider and nurturer. They're like, oh, you know, women should nurture, they should care, like men also shouldn't care and nurture. At some point, you just gotta laugh because these people are chasing their tail, okay? They're doing all sorts of verbal gymnastics to avoid a healthy relationship dynamic. It's actually crazy.
Just because a man is a good provider does not make him a good partner or a good man. He could pay your rent, pay all your bills, you feel me, give you money for fun activities, but when you get home, he could be the worst person ever, you feel me? Or he could hold the fact that he is a provider over your head as some power. I know plenty of dudes that will tell a girl, they'll start dating a girl, they'll tell her to quit her job, quit all her income. I don't want my girl working. He'll pay all the bills, and then he'll hold that over you. If you don't do this, you could get out. It's my apartment. It's my house. If y'all get in an argument and the first thing he says is, you better watch who you talking to. This is my house. You better remember, I pay all the bills around here. Run. Because as soon as stuff goes left, he's holding that over your head. He's not playing fair, you feel me? He's not addressing the actual problem. He's just going to hit you with, I do this for you, I do that for you. And nobody wants someone like that, you feel me? You're not throwing in his face all the stuff you do for him to make his life easier. So if he's throwing it in your face, that's a sign you got the wrong one, man. Run.
A provider man does not make him a good man. Just because that man pays for all your shit does not actually make him a good man. Stop gaslighting women into thinking you have a good man, my man, my man, my man. The whole time your man is putting his hands on you and he's not a good man. A good man does more than just pay the bills. Like, it's so crazy how society expects the bare minimum from men. All they got to do is pay bills. They can be bald, out of shape, funny looking, stank foot ass, skid mark in their drawers, but he got money. And some woman around here will settle for that just because he got money. Because, like seriously though, they will. Okay, he don't have to have nothing else. He just got money, taking their ass out of poverty. She a little less hungry today. But a good man, a great man, is a man who can do both. Put his money towards his family, continue to get money, and obtain more assets, and treat a woman good as fuck. That's a good man. That's a great man. And sad to say, a lot of women out here just have provider men. That's it. Not a good man. Y'all gotta know the difference. For real.
A narcissist, but he pays for everything? All I heard was he pays for everything. Do you realize what you're saying? Who cares what he is? You're getting paid. You're telling women to get paid to be abused. You're securing the bag. Would you willingly get paid to be beaten emotionally, mentally, physically, and sexually every single day? Secure the bag, right? Did you know that narcissistic abuse is one of the most damaging forms of abuse? That it's been scientifically proven to cause irreversible brain damage in its victims? Here you are, instilling in women that they are worth nothing, that degrading themselves for a man's money is somehow okay. Did you know that victims of narcissistic abuse often suffer from lifelong trauma, anxiety, depression, PTSD? It shortens their lifespan, robs them of their potential, and destroys their self-worth. Men are all the same. If I have to put up with a little drama to live comfortably, I'd rather do it in designer. You call that living comfortably? What's worse? Implying that there are no good men by degrading them to the size of their bank account, or teaching women that they're worth nothing more than how much a man is willing to buy them for? You degrade every good man out there who value women, who feel fulfilled, protecting, providing, and leading them without control or abuse, while encouraging women to degrade themselves for money.
Provider mean? Like, in my opinion, a provider doesn't mean someone who's going to pay financially for everything.
Like, at this point, everybody should just be alone. Y'all don't want to be a provider for others. And that's okay. Be a provider for yourself. I'm sure in many definitions of what a provider is, it all sums up to a person who gives someone something they need. My mom would be considered a provider because she provides me with the things that I need: food, water, shelter. I'm sure my school would be considered a provider of education. My doctor would be a provider for treatment because they all are giving me something that I need. Money is involved in supplying me with the things that I need. I feel like a provider does not have to always give you something financially directly. My mom give me love and support. My education provide me with opportunities. My doctor provide me with a couple more years or maybe a couple more hours of life. So I promise you, somebody that I'm with that wants to be considered a provider in our relationship, have me under the bridge cold and fucking shaking, and he right there along with me, you got me all types of fucked up if you think you even the P in provider. If y'all could buy your own flowers, if y'all could take yourself dancing, then fucking do that. Okay, but they got some people in the world who don't mind buying somebody else flowers and taking somebody else dancing.
I do apologize ahead of time because I'm going to hit a nerve, but could you imagine being a provider, man, where you sit up here and work all these hours and you're with the woman and you're trying to give her the lifestyle that she says she wanted, and you're just working your best because you do love and you care for this woman, all for her to end up turning around and saying you was never home. I feel like we don't love each other anymore and I want to go see other people, even though the only reason you was away from the home was to work, to pay for the lifestyle that she says she wanted. Could you also imagine having kids in this situation, and then as your kids start to get older, they feel like they don't know their father because their father is never at home because they're always working to provide this lifestyle where the kids never have to worry about money. Kids go to the mall, kids go to the movie, kids are going on vacation with their friends, and they never have to worry about a dollar. That you put them in one of the best schools you possibly could have, all for them to turn around and being like, you was never there for me. Could you also imagine losing the house that you was paying for since you was the provider man, and then you end up losing it in the divorce, and you're now paying alimony since you probably stayed home. The wife stayed home to take care of the kids, and now you got to live in a one-bedroom apartment as your ex-wife is living in the house you paid for with her new man. And the kids still might be there, and now they live in like one big happy family for a structure that you built.
Your value is dependent upon how you make yourself. How you make yourself. Because guess what? Planet Earth is feminine. Mother Earth, Mother Nature.
Damn, that's crazy.
Everything in planet Earth is feminine that produces value. And that producer, the feminine, is interdependent. The male has to get to a place within himself where he moves from a parasite to an independent, interdependent being. And the only way that you can do that is self-constructing yourself to be of value on what you can provide for somebody else. But the average male doesn't want to provide. He wants to operate as a parasite. Give me, give me, give me. And that's the reason why the Army's old commercials used to be, don't ask your country what your country can do for you. Ask your country what you can do for your country. What can I do for you? Men inherently think, give me, give me, give me. What about me? That's parasitic. So if a man wants to be needed, he needs to make himself needed. You need to make yourself of value. And men don't want to do that because when they finally do make themselves valuable, they are resentful because people only want them because they're valuable. But motherfucker, you want the woman because she's inherently valuable. She didn't have to make herself valuable, and that's what you hate.
Crazy.
It's the kids and the dogs and you and me. It's the way it's alright. Everything goes.
Fellas, if she wanted, she would let you sleep. See, this be them, oh, I don't have to pay the mortgage. Giggling motherfucking, these be them men, the provider men. You can see the exhaustion in that man's face. If she really loved that man, she would let him go to sleep. She would say, no, babe, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do it tomorrow. Get some rest. See, this be the dudes that run themselves in the dirt, early graves, heart problems, things of that nature, trying to be that. I'm so glad that I never found love like this. If this is what it means to be a man, a provider man, a loving husband, to come home after a 48-hour shift, and instead of going to bed, you got to put some fucking furniture together that she ordered and wanted to be put together, I don't want it. Keep that love far away from me. I am the boys of all boys, if that's what makes a man. If you go to her page, every time you see that man's face, he look tired. Bags all in his eyes, rings around his motherfucking eyes. And I just woke up. But, goddamn, let that man get some rest. And this goes all the way back to that video that I made about that motherfucker giving his shoes to his wife in the middle of New Orleans in the summertime for the Essence Festival. And I said, women that really give a fuck about their man and really love and like their man don't want their man to suffer when he doesn't have to. They give a fuck about him. And in some cases, they have to save him from himself. But they have a pretty big age gap between them. So she might just want his insurance money because he's a firefighter. So
Provider men like being providers. Now, are you sure about that? Or are they emotionally unintelligent, thinking money is a real expression of love, insecure, thinking that's the only way they can get, keep, and please a woman, and or have very problematic views of women, seeing them as something to purchase and own? I feel like those are very much more likely options for the provider man mindset. And you're telling me they do it for the love of the game? Mind you, no man commented this. I've seen 3 women comment something similar. And there are men who disagreed with me. None of them said this. I don't have a problem with that general dynamic. If you know me, you know I've dated plenty of women who provide for me, so to speak. But when I do that, what do you call me? Oh, you're mooching. You're a leech. You're narcissistic. And the thing is, I'm very comfortable and very open and honest about the kind of person I am. The problem is, you can only call something what it is when you see the opposite gender doing it. You're no different than those men with 100 body counts saying they don't want a woman with more than 5. You're being disingenuous. And even if you're not being disingenuous, even if you genuinely believe that men are meant to be providers and provide for the woman financially, as she's supposed to be provided for financially, just in a vacuum, that's how men and women are supposed to be, you are objectively upholding and advocating for the patriarchy. And don't get it twisted. If you want to emulate this weird pre-women's rights movement marriage where the husband's always working and the woman's at home cooking and cleaning, that's perfectly fine, okay? That's your prerogative. But we're not going to act like that's not what's being shoved down our throats in dating discourse right now. And my policy always is, if you're going to shove something down my throat and it's problematic, I have to say something about it. Because what I'm advocating for is people should contribute proportionally to the relationship, whether that be money or housework. Like this is not a crazy take I have. But hold up, are we forgetting that these traditional gender roles were established when women literally couldn't have jobs? So like, of course, the man was going to have to take care of them because women legally could not have jobs. You know, some people in the comments call me red-pilled for this take. Red-pilled for a take where I'm advocating for women to not be viewed as objects, where I'm advocating for an even power dynamic in the relationship. You know, and the thing is, what I'm advocating for is like objectively the morally right thing. Like it's not even close. All I'm saying is that should be the norm. If you don't want to be like morally upstanding, that's completely fine. I'm not morally upstanding. Like, please just like don't lie to us and act like, no, like this is how it should be. This is the right thing, blah, blah, blah. No, like that's why we love Sprinkle, okay? Because she's do these things and she's not going to sit here pretending it was the right thing to do. And just because I know y'all love twisting words up on here, I'm not saying men shouldn't be nice to women. I'm not saying men shouldn't make nice gestures for women, okay? Because of course they should. I'm saying that effort in the relationship, in all aspects of the relationship, should be as proportional as possible. And also, a grown adult being expected to financially support another grown adult is crazy, is weird. There's no justification for it unless you want to get into some problematic territory. That's all we're talking about here. We can just accept it.
Okay, my face is peeling, but let's talk about this. So I think last month, I posted a video about, why women shouldn't be dating broke men. And the comment section is filled with hateful men talking trash about every single woman in that comment section. But however, I want to say something, okay? The reason why the growth of men shaming women has increased is because men are becoming more lazy. And because they're becoming more lazy, they don't have to work anymore. And because they don't have to work anymore, they are now they know that for them to have the privileges of having a family, having a woman, they need money. They need to work hard to get those things. But because now they're lazy and they don't want to put in the work, they don't want to go above and beyond and do the things that they need to do to become a man that would have certain capacity to afford having a family and children, they will shame women and mistreat women and use a form of manipulation on women to have the privileges that a hardworking man would have, and have all the rights that a hardworking man would have without having to do anything. The reason why a lot of broke men manipulate women more, using emotional manipulation and also a form of financial abuse, where they shame you for being a woman that desires a certain kind of lifestyle, or they shame you for being a woman that wants more and expects more from men, is because they want the privileges that these men that have the money have without doing the work. They want the privileges. They all do. All single one of them. They want the woman. They want the prettiest woman. They want the flyest woman. They want the sexiest woman. They all want it. But because they are lazy and they don't want to have to put in the work, they now have to belittle women, shame women, and bring women down so that they can trample on them and use them. Do you get it? And this is why it's important for you not to interact with all these broke men. Don't interact with them, because the more you interact with them, they're very poisonous and they're very infectious. They're going to infect you with this stupid poison that they have going on around them. So stay focused, okay? Don't interact with them.
Marrying for money sounds cute until you realize that you can't have it all. This one is for my sister, cousin, friends, nieces, and Thundercats, the women who are married, inspiring to be married, or newlyweds. Baby, I've been married for 32 years, and this is what no one's going to tell you on this app about marriage. You don't have to marry a rich man to be provided for. I said it. A man doesn't need a yacht to be considered a provider. And he doesn't need a yacht to give you stability either. He needs character, vision, discipline, and love. Heavy on the character. If you give that man time, he'll build the life that you dream of. He really will. Now, I respect Shira 7 for her thought process on a few things, and the girls who teach that kind of strategy. But understand this, and this is from her own words. Quote, after 15 years of marriage, you're not kissing anymore. See, that's why playing that type of game is high risk. It's high maintenance, and most of the time it's not sustainable, especially if you're looking for a real connection with your husband. Because one thing's for sure and two things for certain, a man that leads with his wallet may try to control you with it also. But a man that loves you, he will grow for you. He will build for you. And you will glow because you're secure and you're cherished. Let TT give you an example. Like I said, we've been married for 32 years. It'll be 33 years in June. I'm an only child, and my mother passed away. It'll be 3 years in August. We were married at 19. My husband knows my mother, almost as well as I did. And he knows my love for her and his love for her. So when she was passing away, my husband was the one who lifted me. He wanted to make sure that I didn't break all the way. So he went to the rehab appointments with me. He took me back and forth to the hospital when she was in rehab. When she came home, he helped me lift her, change her, turn her, pray for her, encourage her, and then ultimately lay her to rest. These are the things that money can't buy. These are the things in the intimacy that you risk when you marry for money. So Nisi, don't confuse provider with rich. So please don't confuse provider with rich. Look for a man with a plan, not just a paycheck. Choose love with wisdom. Because when a man is loved right, he becomes wealthy in every way. As always, TT loves you. Follow me for more wisdom coming from a wife that's been married 32 years and still very happily in love.
Financial stability could come disguised as manipulation and control, which is exactly why you have to be really careful when it comes to picking a provider man for your life, because some provider men use their ability to provide financially as means of controlling women. One of the worst things that a woman could do is surrender her independence and her autonomy into the hands of another man. And I'm saying that because there's hundreds and thousands of women who are out here looking for the archetype of a provider man. But you have to understand that in some cases, these provider men sell you a dream just to get you exactly where it is that they want you. And so you don't do anything that's beyond what their desires of you are. For example, a man might tell you, stay home, baby. You don't have to work. You don't have to go clock in at a 9 to 5. You don't have to own a business. You don't have to do any of that. And he'll tell you that with the intention of keeping you at home so he can control you and overlook everything that it is that you're doing. And that sounds nice. No need to clock into a 9 to 5. No need to deal with annoying coworkers. No need to deal with an annoying boss. It sounds like the dream. But when you really think about it, surrendering your independence to somebody else means you're entirely dependent on them now. And that is a huge mistake for one primary reason. If things don't work out, what are you going to do? You have nothing to fall back on. You have no income to fall back on. You have no job to fall back on. You have no business to fall back on. There's nothing to your name that you have when you become entirely dependent on somebody else. God forbid you get cheated on. What are you going to do? Now you're stuck with a cheater. And that's because you've surrendered your independence and your autonomy to somebody else, and you've allowed them to take that power from you. That is why it is so important to remain independent, have your own things you can fall back on, because there's no better feeling than to fall back on something that you know is yours if things don't work out. I'll give you an example. One of my exes was with one of those provider men, and she said that he would pay for absolutely everything. The car note, the car insurance, the phone bill, everything. He was funding her entire lifestyle. One day she said that he came up to her and he was like, I want to look through your phone. And she was like, you want to look through my phone? What do you mean? That's my privacy. Who pays for it? I pay for it. So I have the right to look at your phone whenever the hell I want. And there was a huge argument over that. And she said that after that experience, she would never let a man fully provide for her. She would always have her own shit to fall back on. And that's a smart move. Look, I know a lot of you want these provider men because it sounds nice. Maybe some of you are lazy too. But that's beside the point. You have to understand that these provider men do not see you as equals. Because if they're paying for every single thing in the house, they're funding your entire lifestyle, and they're providing for it all, they're going to feel like their say is more important than yours because they're paying for everything. On top of all of that, a lot of provider men feel ownership and entitlement over a woman because they're funding her every aspect by providing financially in every area of her life. They feel like they own you. I know a lot of women want provider men, but wait until you actually experience a provider man who thinks and operates like this. It's going to be a living hell, which is exactly why you have to maintain your independence and never surrender it to anyone's hands.
Life is so funny because, like, one day you're living in a $10,000 a month apartment and, like, getting to do whatever you want and eating at Michelin star restaurants all the time and going on a vacation to the Amman Hotel in Sri Lanka and then extending the trip and going to Singapore and staying at the Ritz-Carlton. And you're with this man who you think you're going to marry, and he's made you financially dependent on him over the course of the relationship. And then you get into a fight one night. And it's January, so when I get back to New York, I will have technically nowhere permanent to live.
All right, listen, I got a lot to say about this because I've made countless videos talking about how I personally think these girls who make these provider videos, they live in fantasy world because this is the harsh reality of you getting a provider man. If I played the video a little bit too fast, this girl was dating an extremely rich guy, and she forgot, I guess, halfway through the relationship that she thought this is her new life because she thought she was going to marry this guy. But it didn't occur to her that that money, that experience, everything you're getting to enjoy is just because of him. It's not because of you. You have no way of making money. These experiences were all through this guy. One line that I really dislike that she says in the beginning of the video is her saying, well, this man made me financially dependent on him. Man, nobody can make you financially dependent. You chose to not go and entertain your own career and make progress in your own career because you thought this man was going to be your Superman. You thought that this man was going to be there, you were going to marry him, and you never have to work again and get all of your resources, money, and everything through him. That's what you thought. Nobody forces you to just not go and, make progress in your own career. And this is my whole entire point. Like, listen, I don't know if this girl was told by the boyfriend to not work or whatever the deal is, but the point is she didn't work for probably years. She doesn't have a way of making a stable income. Her name wasn't on the lease, and now she's shocked and baffled because she was in the honeymoon stage. Now, when they had a simple argument or a big argument, that all of that stuff is it's gone. Because this is why I make the provider videos that I do, because these girls live in a completely delusional and fantasy world where I don't know if they've never had an experience where you think you know somebody really well and it just goes a different direction. But why would you ever want to put yourself in a situation where you are reliant, completely reliant, whether it's on your living situation, financially, like pretty much everything you're relying on a man for, just praying that this relationship doesn't go south, even though divorces are at like 75% right now. Because the common argument whenever I make these videos warning girls about being in that provider lifestyle is like, oh, you just couldn't provide for a girl. You just couldn't do it. It's like, I've never made a girl do that. But trust me, I think it's embarrassing if I ever met a girl in real life and she said, no, it's your job. It's your job to provide for me. I'd be like, oh yeah, you're not ambitious. I'm not dating a child. Because while I do have a little bit of empathy for this girl, like I'm sure she's probably so sad that this relationship is over, the one thing I don't think this girl ever thought of is that all of those experiences that she's naming as if it was hers was never hers. Those were experiences that you got to obtain because of that man. It was never yours. It's like if I was dating a girl whose dad owned Yankee Stadium and I got a bunch of Yankees tickets, and then all of a sudden me and the girl break up, and then I'm like, what? I can't go to Yankees games anymore? I had the Yankees tickets because I was dating a girl whose dad owns the Yankees. I didn't actually do that, but you know my point. Moral of the story here is while it might feel good to have a provider man, it can go south very, very quickly, and it can be very, very stressful because this is a harsh reality of what happens 90% of the time in these provider relationships, or you're going to have to share your boyfriend or, husband because these guys cheat a lot, but that's just my opinion. But hey, what do you think?
I will never again partner with a man who's not willing to spend money on me. That is my God honest truth.
I really like this creator. I think she's brilliant. And I'm going to tell you guys about the ways that man is going to show that he doesn't like you in the relationship because he cannot provide for you financially or does not want to provide for you financially. I'm going to walk around because these mosquitoes are tearing my ass up. But basically, the first way that it's going to show up in your relationship is when you go out to eat. Going out to eat with a man who does not have money or does not want to pay for the meal is not going to be a pleasant experience because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be limited just to the main course. Like you might not be able to get the drinks you want. And if you do get a drink, you might not be able to get more than one. You might not be able to afford appetizers. You might not be able to get extra sides or extra sauces or extra anything because we know these restaurants be charging us for everything nowadays. And it's just going to make you feel like this is like your last meal on earth. You better eat it slowly and you better conserve your energy from that meal because you don't know when the next one's coming. Like it's just a very poverty scarcity mindset and it's like limiting. Second, a man who doesn't want to provide for you financially may not be feeling incentivized to go down on you or to please you in the bedroom. Like if he keeps all his money to himself, it's because he's selfish. And if he doesn't have money, he's going to feel inadequate. And both of those feelings are going to result in him not performing the way you want him to be performing in the bedroom. It may not be necessarily true for every guy because there are some guys who literally have no money and only D to offer. And so in that instance, it's like, congrats, you're not getting anything beyond that, The third way that this is going to show up in your relationship is he's going to start competing with you over everything. Guys who are not financially secure perceive everybody as a threat, but especially the women they're in a relationship with, and especially if she has more money than him, or if she just has money and he has none.
This man just wants to play house. I'm a trophy wife for him. He goes and makes the money, and he comes home and gets to tell me that I don't have a real job because I don't bring home money. So because I don't bring home money, you think I don't bring home value? You think I don't add value to your life, to your kid's life?
Video was an exact example of the videos I've been making for the last week going over this 50-50 trend. People were able to understand the point of my video, but a lot of people don't seem to think or not understand the negative sides that I talk to people about what happens in a, non-50-50 relationship. This is exactly my whole entire point because this wife who, is not a 50-50, her husband pays all the bills. Guess what? Shocker. He doesn't view her as an equal human being. She says herself, her husband just views her as an object, as a trophy because he provides all of the money. She stays at home with the kids. And guess what? He doesn't even view that as real labor. He uses it against her. Like, oh, yeah, you just stay at home with the kids. This is what happens in most of these relationships. Girls live in this fantasy world where, of course, a lot of girls just do not want to work. And they have this fantasy mindset that this guy that you met and is willing to pay all your bills, he's going to remain the exact same for the whole entire 30 to 40 year relationship that you have. People totally don't get divorced. Totally not going to go and use his financial and economical power to, emotionally abuse you and put you in situations
situations that you know you can't really get out of because you have no way of providing for yourself. Oh, I'm sure that's never going to happen again. Sure, you guys are the exception. No, he's a man. He's a provider. Also, another video that I wanted to stitch, but I guess I'll just include it in this video because it's kind of the same topic, is there was a video of a girl saying that she, went on a trip with her mother for like 4 days and she came back home and then this is the condition, her husband left the house. Like he basically left it a mess. I find it very interesting because I agree with the women in both of these videos to an extent, but the woman in the second video that I'm talking about, I agree with her. That is pathetic that she comes back and her husband cannot take care of himself for 3 days. And I want you guys to remember how pathetic that feeling is because that is exactly, for me personally, how I think men view women who cannot take care of themselves financially because it's a man's job. Because in your reality, it's a woman's job to provide for the house, do laundry, take care of the kids. So isn't it still a little bit of an ick, just a little bit of a turnoff when you come back and you find out your man physically, he can't do it. Like he can't do it on his own. Like it's one thing if you do it, but he can't do it on his own. Anybody, whether you are a man or a woman, if you actually view men and women as equals, you would be able to look at whatever gender cannot take care of themselves independently, and that should be, something of a turnoff of some kind. Some video of a pick-me man who probably doesn't know really how to get a woman without providing for her, replying to a comment where he basically said, well, listen, if you're a real man, you would get 2 jobs so your wife doesn't have to work. It's like, what logic is that? Dating a 12-year-old, because if you're working 50 to 60 hours a week, why on earth would you go work now 120 hours a week when you have a fully functioning, capable adult at home? But, it's because she's a woman. She's not supposed to be working, just like a child. Again, we're getting mad at the wrong people here. Like the reason why a man who's working 60 hours a week isn't able to financially provide for his family, it really isn't a man or woman problem. Like we should be getting mad at the economical conditions that we're in, that we need to work 80 plus hours a week just to like have an average life. We're really so self-centered and not empathetic at all that they'll really see, how tough the financial and economical conditions are right now. They'll see that it's super hard just for an independent person. They'll see that and they'll still put the burden of providing for like 3 more people on the man because, it's not a woman's place to be working. Again, if you guys decide to have that lifestyle, just keep in mind that most likely 99% of the time, what's going to happen is in the first video. That is how a man's going to treat you. They don't actually view you as having a real job. They're going to use it as leverage in every single argument. They're going to say, oh yeah, well you get to sit at home with the kids and I actually have a job and actually do something. Type of decision that you want to make independently. If you ever feel like your husband or, person is, overstepping his boundaries, maybe he's doing something that you're not exactly comfortable with, well, guess what? You can't really do anything about it because you don't know how to make money on your own. And you guys, men, women, if you men have fallen for the trap where you feel so insecure, God forbid, if you only make $40,000 to $50,000 a year, asking your wife to also provide, if you guys also make $40,000 a year, then that's on you. I pray for your security to get higher. Women, if you truthfully think your place belongs in the kitchen and you just want to stay at home with the kids and a man's role is to be providing for you, I'm really sorry, that your mind has been completely altered to believe you guys are lesser than a man. Me personally, I do not go 50-50 in my relationship. I personally only do that because it economically doesn't make any sense. I make a lot more money than she does. Also, I prefer being the sole equity holder in the place that I own right now. So I don't want anybody else, paying for my place because then they'll technically have a portion of equity in it. For me personally, that is why I don't do 50-50 because I just like to be the leader. And, at the end of the day, I do have higher equity in financial situations than she does. So that's why I don't do that. But it's not because she is a woman and I look at her as like, oh, she's just a woman. I need to take care of her because she's not capable of being, providing for herself because she's just a woman. And if you guys prefer that lifestyle, then that's on you. But just remember, there's always a possibility that you could be one of the 2 girls in the beginning of the video. But hey, what do you think?